Olivia Nunn. And after 20 years of dedicated service to the United States Army, in my personal opinion, I think it's the best service branch. That one's for you, Dr. X, the Army. I retired as an Army Public Affairs Officer, and I am truly honored to be your MC this evening. And we are here to celebrate 10 years, 10 wonderful years of an anniversary of a great organization called Serving Together. So please join me by standing as we do the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing as we do the national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And for the next part.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may all be seated. And thank you to our vocalists. That was beautifully done by Marisha Tapira. And thank you, that was so beautiful. Before we move forward this evening, I would like to cover a little bit of housekeeping. We are live streaming this on social media, and you guys know me and know the fact that I love social media. So you can find this on Facebook. And for those that are following us virtually, welcome. We are so excited that you are following us and watching us on our virtual station, because, you know, these are times that are new and we love to see you guys here virtually. So hi. So yeah, for those of you guys that are in the room and that you guys came and joined us and you guys parked, parking has been extended to 7:15. So don't worry, you're not going to get locked out of your car. And again, if you are here in this room, please be sure to silence your phone as well. And a recording of this program will be made available after this event. And don't forget, let's go back to social media because I love social media. You could follow EveryMind and Serving Together on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, because you can find us on social media if you haven't done that already. So it is now my pleasure to introduce to you the CEO of EveryMind, Ann Mazur, who has been with EveryMind for 16 years. She has served as both the Director of Finance, and the Chief Operating Officer before accepting the position of CEO in 2016. In the community, Anne has been a member of the Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, the Advisory Committee since 2010. And she is a former board member of the Montgomery County Child Care Association. Her professional affiliations include the American Society of Association Executive, the Washington Area Financial Management Roundtable, and the Maryland Association of Nonprofit Organizations. As CEO, Anne works with the senior leadership and the board of directors to set the strategic plans and goals of the overall organization. And she's always rooted her intuitive understanding of the organization's operation and mission. So please welcome the CEO.
Welcome, everyone. Olivia, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And before I get started on my remarks, I wanted to first recognize we have Representative Nan Mann from Senator Chris Van Hollen's office with us today. And also Dr. Raymond Prell from the Montgomery County Executive's office. Before I get started on my remarks, so my dad was in the Navy in World War II. He was a radio airman and then ended up in the belly as a gunner in a turret belly. So love to have that conversation, but I'm representing RV. So, I mean, maybe. You almost convinced me, maybe. I know we have a lot of Army in the room today, so. So I'm so happy to be here with all of you today, and those of you joining us virtually to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Serving Together. I am so proud of all that Serving Together has achieved in the last decade and the impact it has had and will continue to have on the lives of veterans, service members, and their families. And I am also proud of Serving Together because this is the EveryMind program that drove the growth and expansion of EveryMind services beyond Montgomery County, Maryland. Serving Together grew out of the Montgomery County Hotline, a core center for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and our mission of suicide prevention. We saw veteran population calling into the hotline, looking for connection to benefits and resources, as well as mental health support. Needs assessments and resource mapping from Deloitte, Accenture, and with the help of the Weinberg Foundation, provided the data that solidified what we were seeing on the ground. We saw the need to support our veteran community and military families 10 years ago. Back then, we had one person trying to meet that need. And today, the initiative has grown into a robust program that spans the Mid-Atlantic. This growth could not have been possible without our funders, our community providers, board of directors, and key stakeholders. Many are here with us today. I also want to recognize two of our board members in the room, Kathy McCallum and Beatrice Miller. Thank you for being with us. In the upcoming program, you will hear how your support has impacted Serving Together's growth and how your partnership helped to shape our unique peer navigation and collaborative model. I want to take this opportunity to express my personal, sincere thanks and gratitude to all of you who have answered the call to support and expand the work of Serving Together so that we can positively impact the lives of thousands of veterans and look into the future and serve thousands more. We are here to celebrate the impact of this incredible program and celebrate you and your commitment to service members, veterans, and their families. I thank all of you. At this point, it is my pleasure to share with you a video by John Lehman, an in-network provider and strong supporter of the work done by Serving Together. John is an Army veteran, a published author, and a martial artist, actor, and professional wrestler who was awarded the Community Leadership Award for teaching anti-bullying tactics to children in our community. He is a veteran mentor and strong veteran advocate. John is currently serving as the Senior Director for Veteran Services at Intellectual Point, an education platform company focused on IT training, consulting, and workforce development. He wanted to share his personal story with us today.
Good afternoon. My name is John. I'm the Senior Director of Veteran Services at Intellectual Point. We are a company that focuses on teaching and educating veterans in IT. I would have never had this opportunity a decade ago. And I'm going to focus on 10 years because we're celebrating 10 years of serving together and everything that EveryMind does for the community. In 10 years, I had the opportunity to completely turn my life around. In 2011, I had a near fatal suicide attempt. And if I had the services available that Serving Together and EveryMind offers, I would have taken them up on it. I was homeless, I was jobless, and I didn't know where I was going to go. So that gave me a level of despair that I don't ever want to experience again. And these services that are connected to veterans by Serving Together are super important. Let me break this down just like this. Everybody has 4 seasons in life. The first season is your summer. And in the summer season, you're born and your parents show you the way that they want you to be in this world. So they focus on your growth and your maturation. And when you get into your spring, then what you do is you nurture that nature that was given to you and you begin to fruit. You begin to show fruits in your talents. Then you come into your fall season of life, which is the season that I'm in right now. And I want to be able to teach, mentor, and mold the folks that are in the summer and the spring in their life. So that way they don't make the same mistakes that I made. And I won't be considered a parent to them. Sometimes it's difficult. And lastly, you have the winter of life. And the last thing I ever want to do is I want to sit in a chair when I'm older and I could have looked back and said, what difference could I have made? What difference could I have made? I don't want to ask that. I want to know the differences that I made. And by having built a relationship with Serving Together and understanding the work and the groundwork that has been put forth by EveryMind, I would encourage every single one of you to reach out. And if you have the ability to donate your time, donate your time. If you have the ability to donate funds to these missions, donate funds, because the work that they are doing is integral to saving lives through Serving Together. And I ask today that you reach out and you touch somebody else's life. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, John, for sharing your story and for underscoring the importance that the work Serving Together continues to do for veterans and for the military families. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for this evening, Dr. Cynthia Macri. Dr. Macri was commissioned in the U.S. Navy in 1979 and retired as a captain after 35 years of dedicated service to our nation as a gynecological oncologist. She has held a variety of academic and executive leadership roles, including positions at the National Naval Medical Center, Walter Reed Army Medical Center here in Washington, D.C., and the Naval Medical Education and Training before moving to the Pentagon. And she served as a special assistant to the Chief of Naval Operations for Diversity. Upon retirement in 2013, Dr. Macri was retained on active duty for an additional 12 months as she served as the chief strategist for the 21st Century Sailor Office, where she advised the Chief of Navy personnel on combating sexual assault and sexual harassment, suicide, mental health, as well as binge drinking, drinking and driving, fraternization, and bias in evaluations and promotions. Safe to say, very important topics that we still are dealing with today. And interesting enough, we had a very in-depth discussion, and one that I hope to continue to have with you. Dr. Macri serves on several committees and commissions, including the Montgomery County Commission on Veterans Affairs and the Department of Veteran Affairs Advisory Committee on Women's Veterans. So please join me in a warm welcome in bringing her to the stage, Dr. Cynthia Macri.
So my script said, introduce yourself. So I was already introduced. Good evening. Thank you. Lieutenant Colonel Nunn, thank you for your service. Go Navy. As you heard, I'm Dr. Cynthia Macri. I was commissioned in 1979 and retired in 2014. So, you know, my service spanned or touched 5 decades. And just to give you perspective, I was commissioned before the internet, right? Before electronic health records, before cell phones, we used to call them car phones, remember? And before women were allowed to serve in combat. So in fact, I've often been asked if, you know, if I went to the Naval Academy, but the reality is I'm too old. So, you know, today, actually, this is the 50th anniversary of Title IX, which was authored by my personal hero, Patsy Mink, the first woman of color to be elected to Congress, and from Hawaii, actually, my home state. So you know, Title IX was challenges Title IX. I was actually hijacked to some degree by the NCAA. Didn't result in women having equal opportunities to elite universities like the Naval Academy until 1976. And I went to college in 1975. So I especially want to thank Serving Together and your amazing staff. Transitioned to the civilian sector after a 35-year career, you know, maybe 4 times your, you know, adult life. Especially, you know, since the military has been my whole life, it was not easy, and it certainly was not seamless at all for me. So early in the exploration of civilian life, EveryMind and Serving Together actually found me. We were at a conference together at the Henry M. Jackson Foundation. So I'm originally from Hawaii, as I said, so I have a story for everything. I'll tell you the story about Serving Together a little bit later. But I was asked to share my story. So I'm gonna eliminate all the, you know, where I've been and you know, kind of what I've done. But I have 35 years of stories that I can bore you with if you so desire. And it really hurts, it really pains me, you know, hurts my heart that fellow veterans are consumed by and often defined by their most painful experiences. So today's date, really the only reason why I agreed to be outside this far out of my comfort zone was because this date has a lot of significance for me. On this date, June 23rd, 1983, 39 years ago, I checked into my first command at Bethesda Naval Hospital. So my pay entry base date was listed on my LES every single month. I was reminded that June the 23rd is my pay entry base date. So, you know, I loved the Navy, but it was not without its challenges. So I'm here to tell you that if indeed whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I must be like, you know, Hercules or something like that. Because like many women, so, and this isn't only in the military, but many professional women, right? You just can't quit, right? You can't quit because there's a lot of other women coming up behind you, right? So somebody's got to, you know, throw themselves under the bus for others. So for me, it was my medical students, right? College students, pre-college students, residents, and later my daughter, who was coming up behind me. And I was committed to making this sacred commitment to the military, service to our country, and my profession a better place for them. In fact, my advice to young people trying to make decisions about, should I stay, should I work, should I stay from home, should I do some kind of, shared thing or any combination? You might have to give up something to get what you want. So I had live-in babysitters from the Philippines, El Salvador, and Thailand until my daughter was 11. So I gave up cooking and cleaning. And so whatever you do, right, you must remember that you are the first and you're the most important role model for your child. Your first priority is to grow up to be someone your child can be proud of. And your child is watching. And that means also, your subordinates, your residents, your students, et cetera. So if you come home and you complain about whatever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you work with, right? You're going to raise a whiner. And that goes for all of, like I said, all your, so if you don't want your residents, your fellows to be whining, don't complain it. Don't just complain in front of them. But if you love your job, your child will love your job. And if you think about solutions and engage your children in those decisions, you will raise a problem solver, which is mostly, but not totally good. And so all that being, I just said all that to say, I really, really loved being in the Navy. It was truly a home for me. I grew up as an American expatriate, living overseas in developing countries where the only thing that mattered was being an American. It didn't matter what gender, what race, what religion, what socioeconomic class, what school you went to, how many traffic lights there were in your town. What mattered was you were American. And we got evacuated out of Egypt in 1967, and we got evacuated out of Islamabad in 1971 for wars, right? And let me just tell you, we were really, really lucky to be American. So to that end, the US Marine Security Guards, Department of the Navy, were our near peers in high school. They played football, basketball, volleyball, and softball against us when we were in high school and steered me to the Navy. And I never, ever really considered a career outside the military. And as I mentioned earlier to Nan, I attended Lehigh University. I graduated with just under a 3.2, in the 5th class of women. I was, clearly no academic superstar, but since it's the Title IX anniversary, 50th anniversary, I took that $100 from the athletic department. Thank you, Title IX. In 1977, and I started the women's soccer club at Lehigh, which is now a D1 Patriot League school team. So apparently that was interesting enough to the admissions committee, or maybe was volunteering at the leprosy hospital in Rawalpindi, Pakistan, in high school. And I matriculated at the Temple University School of Medicine on a full ride Navy scholarship. The other services have the same scholarship, but it's not really the same because you don't end up in the Navy. So fast forward to my first 25 years in medicine, and there were plenty of places that I was not welcome. I did a surgery internship at Bethesda, OBGYN residency, fellowship at UC Irvine in California, where my daughter was born. And then I had those 5 interminable years at the old Walter Reed in Washington, DC. I had leadership positions that I wasn't pre-qualified for, but grew into, and including vice president of recruitment and diversity at the Uniformed Services University. And I finally got, in 2009, an invitation, a selection to serve on the CNO staff at the Pentagon. This was my last job at the Pentagon. It was a culmination of both decisive victories and devastating losses. But I got to work for Admiral Gary Roughead, the 29th Chief of Naval Operations, who indeed did find a way to value the experiences I brought to the front office to enhance the conversation about what was needed to promote and maintain our full capabilities and productivity of our people, our greatest asset. And I was witness to a calculated reversal in 2012, justified by sequestration, from which we have yet to recover. So the transition from that job and that boss to the civilian sector was very difficult. The losses far outweighed the gains. But as my daughter said, I'm a pathologic optimist. So among the first loss I always talk about is this. So I embarked on my vegan journey and I lost 15 pounds. Yes. But I also, seriously, I lost my identity as a naval officer and as a Navy surgeon, actually. I lost my peer group, and especially the company of other professional women who were working those hard jobs, those same hard jobs that I was, also in male-dominated, male-oriented environment, where honestly, and honestly, I felt like I was actually kicked out of the Navy because of mandatory retirement, you know, at 30 years, and a lack of interest in diversity, and with a job unfinished. So during my last tour, I dutifully, you know, set up all those appointments, that you're supposed to get done before you get out, right? So it makes it easier for the people, the bean counters. Anyway, so no actual GYN exam was ever done. And I mean, I'm a gynecologist, right, for 40 years. And so I just wondered how they can make an assessment about someone's health or disabilities without at least taking some clothes off, right? And so, but every one of my visible joints, only the visible ones, every one of my visible joints was measured with a goniometer, which I hadn't seen since my first year, my surgical internship. And the main joints on my hands that prevent me from doing the job that the Navy trained me to do, which is surgery, right? Were not important enough to deem or to have compensation for. So they were painful, swollen, frozen joints, but they were the tips of my fingers. So those are not an active problem. Do you know, do not need the tips of your fingers. So this type of experience is a huge deterrent to stay engaged with the VA. I mean, why should we women have to pay for a lawyer to adjudicate our claim? And you know, there's a whole cottage industry of these lawyers that are preying on us. So it's obvious that there's a lack of understanding of female anatomy and physiology at the coding and evaluation level, and an inherent bias against women. As all you have to do is read the slogan on the side of the VA building, right? On this subject, I have tons of stories. So, but I won't bore you with them. The effects of these disability ratings, compensation, et cetera, do contribute to other issues in the transition for women veterans, including homelessness, lack of healthcare, lack of transportation, childcare, et cetera. And so I'm willing to be a voice for those men. I volunteer in a lot of, you know, commissions and so forth, but we need to be heard higher up the chain. And our leadership has to be willing to oversee that sea change. I'm not particularly hopeful, but I am a pathologic optimist. So it would have been easy to despair. And I've spoken to many veterans who indeed have lost hope, who've moved on, fallen into despondency. It's hard for me to admit this, but one of my friends and my deputy actually even took her own life after leaving the Navy. And there's no shortage of nonprofits or episodic events offered up to veterans for free, right? Like extreme sports, you know, the Warrior Games, any number of retreats, et cetera, even pageants, right? But the reality is that most of us are just regular people. Most of us veterans weren't, you know, beauty queens or had any particular talents, except I did make this out of glass, but with no artistic skills whatsoever. And you know, in those retreats and stuff, we can forget about our life circumstances, et cetera, for a few hours or even a few days. But reality is our reality hasn't substantively changed. So what saved me, right? Volunteering, helping others, and more recently, other veterans. So I learned about EveryMind and Serving Together in 2016, actually, and their name kept popping up. Every time there was a problem for a veteran that needed a solution, Serving Together shows up, right? And so what I really want you guys to know is that for veterans who volunteer in the community, and I volunteer in the community, and I'm not you know, I don't work for Serving Together or EveryMind, but what I do know is that working alongside them in the community is actually very good therapy. So any of you who would like some stealth-free therapy, just work in the community alongside EveryMind. I've also, as they mentioned, recently was appointed to the VA's Advisory Committee on Women Veterans, and I have been appointed actually to the Health Subcommittee. So more fireworks in our future. So I have observed Serving Together getting people back on their feet so that they can be that regular person, just the regular person they were before. They can be proud of their service, right? Like we are, and they can be appreciated for their service and their sacrifice. And I've seen the difference that Serving Together has made in our community, taking this crushing repetitiveness of admitting that you need help. You have to keep asking over and over again, filling out multiple different applications with the same information. And they've taken that out of the requirements for veterans that have, and for actually anyone that reaches out for help. And they've done the work of connecting us up with other resources that are local in our communities. So that restores the dignity for those people who, they're not looking for a handout, right? They're looking for a hand up, as my boss, Stan, says all the time. So veterans needs do have a difficult time reaching out. We've had everything given to us, right? Like, gotta love the galley. Good food, we wear the same clothes every day. That was the biggest stress, actually, of speaking here, is figuring out what to wear. And it restores the dignity, right? So sometimes that asking for help is really paralyzing. So Serving Together has been responsive to the needs that as they are revealed. And so this is my last story for about Serving Together. It seems like every time there's a new crisis, right? And how many new crises have we run into in the last 3 years, right? So it was COVID, right? The lack of PPE, right? So how many of us sewed our own masks? Then there's the reports of the overdose rates that are increasing. There's gun violence, not the least of which was recently at our own McGruer High School. And then gas prices and now inflation, right? Serving Together, again, has adapted to provide for those services. And as an Asian American, I don't speak another language, but as an Asian American, I would also like to give a shout out to them for stepping in and adding culturally adapted service assistance to the new suicide hotline. So it's not only going to be in, the obvious English and Spanish, but also not just translated, but they've engaged some people from other countries that can provide that culturally competent service, which I think will ultimately save, that is undoubtedly going to save lives. So I just want to say thank you to Serving Together for being a force in our community. And I know, remember it sounded like, I made it sound like Serving Together is here to, solve world hunger and world peace. It's not, okay? It's not, I'm not putting that on you. But it has, and it will continue to solve hunger for some people, right? And to help them find their own peace in sometimes a seemingly hostile world. So thank you for Serving Together, and Olivia, Lieutenant Colonel, for this opportunity to speak, and also really seriously for all that you do for the community.
Well, thank you guys so much. It really truly is an honor to see people's faces today instead of a screen. I want to, call upon your memories. Many of you have been here before. 4 years ago, we had an incredible launch in this very room. And we have a lot of history that I want to share with you today. But before I do that, I really want to say thank you to Dr. Cynthia Macri, as well as Olivia Nunn. We have two incredible women veterans. And what an honor. We're in the Military Women's Memorial to really represent women veterans. And so thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your insights and thoughts. We appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. This is an amazing place. We're in celebration of 10 years of answering the call. We are so honored that you joined us here for this special event and for your partnership and support. We could not have served the thousands of veterans, service members, and their families without each and every one of you. Serving Together was born out of Montgomery County Hotline, where the challenges of meeting the unique needs of those who have served and protected our nation were identified. In 2011, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation had the vision to issue an opportunity for a local nonprofit to develop and implement peer navigation. Our partners came to help, providing matching support to Robert Wood Johnson's because they too saw that our region's veterans needed support. We are grateful to the Meade Foundation, the Healthcare Initiative Foundation, Montgomery County Health and Human Services, and many others for answering that call. It was through this multi-year seed funding that allowed Serving Together to establish an advisory council to help form peer navigation, mental health education, and our collaborative model as we know it today. In 2015, Serving Together responded again to the call when a needs assessment by Deloitte that the veterans residing in Northern Virginia experienced service gaps and that their greatest need was access to the region's many services, or as we know, peer navigation. Thanks to a partnership with the Community Foundation for Northern Virginia and for the Boeing Company that gave Serving Together the financial investment necessary to expand beyond Montgomery County, Maryland, and to serve the veterans of Virginia. It was here that we developed our partner tool surveys. We launched the Montgomery County and Northern Virginia Leadership Councils to inform decision-making from local experts and those that most invested in the community. And we are proud to continue our mutual partnership with CF Nova and grateful to the Boeing Company, whose ongoing investment in Serving Together has continued through today and been a sustaining support of source of support. Our growth continued when the Osherman Foundation, they provided us seed funding to grow Serving Together's Western Maryland region and launch our work in Frederick, Maryland. And in 2017, we also established a vital relationship with the Institute for Veteran and Military Families, or the IVMF. That would change the course of our work and provide the infrastructure that has led us through to now, and which will continue to strengthen us for many years to come. It was through this partnership that Serving Together joined the America Serves Network, giving our clients access to services nationwide. I also have to acknowledge the important work of the Northern Virginia Regional Commission, whose members and efforts fueled the strategy sessions that made our network possible. The next year, Serving Together worked to build a relationship with another critical partner whose support and ongoing commitment to our region's veterans has been exemplary. Thanks to the Weinberg Foundation, Serving Together continued our rocket-fueled growth by growing and expanding into Washington, D.C., Prince George's County, and Southern Maryland. And this expansion was formed by a study conducted by Accenture that mapped veteran services and gaps throughout Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia. Community partners who welcomed us into the region and continue to partner with us to this day are Dr. James Dula, head of the Prince George's Office of Veteran Affairs, the DC Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs, the DC VA Medical Center, Maryland's Commitment to Veterans, the Tri-County Commission, and hundreds of others, such as our nonprofit partners, such as the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at Easter Seals and Melvin Veteran Services. During this time, the sustaining support of partnerships such as the K. Fritz Foundation, Montgomery County Health and Human Services, the AGWA Fund, the IVMF, Boeing Company, Sharing Montgomery, and the Greater Washington Community Foundation was vital. So thanks to you, hundreds of providers were added to our network of service providers, and the IVMF named Serving Together the Regional Committee of Practice Champion for the Mid-Atlantic region. Over the next 2.5 years, we would develop and deliver trainings to partners from Rhode Island all the way to Virginia. Our critical topics such as military mental health first aid, military sexual trauma, secondary trauma, and veterans suicide prevention. In this explosive growth and active collaboration did not slow down or miss a day, serving the needs of the military and veteran community when the world seemed to stop on March 13th of 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic made our virtual resources and services and our virtual collaborative meetings essential, as all of our and all of your clients were cut off from their in-person medical care, as military families struggle to find childcare, as the military community struggle with food insecurity became a national issue. The response to the pandemic strengthened our partnership with providers like the Blue Star Families and with Unite Us, the software that we use to streamline our service delivery and the referral process for our clients. This network of partners would become the backbone of the Mid-Atlantic Network, which now provides client referrals to not only military and veterans, but also civilians and the like. Anxiety, depression, and the triggering effects of the pandemic on those suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder increased the danger and the rate of death by suicide amongst our veterans, our service members, and their families. So we have joined the SAMHSA's Governor's Challenges to end veteran suicide in both Maryland and Virginia. We've leveraged our sister programs within EveryMind, such as our core center for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And we brought suicide prevention experience beyond our years to the table. Our impact did not go unnoticed. And in 2021, the Weinberg Foundation once again rose to the call and invested in a multi-year partnership with us to bring us catalytic growth to the program by expanding our collaborative model to the Central Maryland region. That same year, we held a legislative briefing, I hope many of you joined it, on the Scott J. Hannon Act and the critical issue of veteran suicide prevention. And building on our work with the Governor's Challenges, we've implemented listening sessions in collaboration with the Northern Virginia Regional Commission and the Association for Dense Communities in Booz Allen Hamilton that allowed service members and their families to safely and anonymously share their experiences of racial and gender-based injustice, and national stakeholders and key military leaders in an effort to increase our diversity, our equity, and inclusion in this space. Our expertise in meeting the needs of those veterans has been reflected in our data, which shows that over 40% of our clients identify as Black and over 25% identify as female, which is even larger than the actual average population of women veterans in this area. And I will say now that we're in 2022, this year we are proud to have continued our meteoric growth propelled by you, our partners, to meet the many complex and increasing needs in the military and veteran community. We initiated a partnership with the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs on creating a regional suicide prevention council or coalition in our regions of ServingTogether. And thanks to you, our provider partners, our elected officials, our funding partners, we have had the honor of navigating the way for a decade. I and the whole team, I want to shout out to my incredible team in this room, are so incredibly thankful to you for being here tonight and for your support of our work. We could not have met the needs without you and without your faith in us. Help us to continue to grow our outreach, services, and our collective impact. We are excited for the future and impassioned to continue the work of combating veteran suicide side by side with you and ensuring that the call for support is answered for every veteran and every service member every time. Thank you all for being with us today.
It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Nan Sheridan Mann from the Senator Chris Van Hollen's office. She is the daughter of a World War II veteran. Nan is very passionate about veteran services, which led her to the role as Western Maryland Regional Director for United States Senator Chris Van Hollen. She has been on the senator's staff office for 3.5 years, and she serves as the point for contact and engagement for the senator throughout Western Maryland. She's involved in the Community Veterans Engagement Board, Veterans Advisory Council, and Serving Together. She serves as a co-chair for Serving Together's Western Region Veteran Collaborative with Jason Marshall. And like the senator, she feels that our nation has a duty to support those that have risked their lives for our security and freedom. Senator Van Hollen is deeply committed to ensuring that our veterans have access to the very best support, and he's truly grateful that our nation can provide that support, and he's about supporting our veterans. So please help me in welcoming Nan to the stage.
Good evening, everybody. I am truly, truly honored to be here this evening. I know most of you have worked with Austin Morris, and this is bad to say, but I kind of was glad that she couldn't come because I was able to come. I hope she's not watching tonight, but don't tell her that, because I feel as though I am deeply rooted with Serving Together. And again, I am truly honored to be here. And I have enjoyed listening to the history of Dr. Macrae's and the history of Serving Together. I did not know that in 10 years, you have grown so much. That is phenomenal. And again, I am honored to co-chair with Jason Marshall, the Western region, to move those chains out to Western Maryland, where the veterans are there, but they're not as forthcoming as they are in mid-Maryland. So it is our mission to get to those veterans and let them know what is available for them. So I am here again representing Senator Van Hollen and Austin. And he sent me with a citation, and as it reads as follows: in recognition of all it does to improve the mental health and wellness of active duty military veterans and their families throughout our community, with appreciation for its outstanding efforts to provide access to a continuum of services and resources, and with gratitude for all it does to touch the lives of others. Signed this day, the 23rd of June, 2022. And may you have many, many, many more years of growth. Thank you, dear. Thank you for all you.
And now, if I can have my friend, Dr. X, and I'll excuse him because he was Air Force, if he could come up here to the stage.
Right, good evening. My name is Dr. X, and I'm honored to be here tonight, celebrating Serving Together's milestone anniversary. I've been on duty as the Central Maryland Program Manager for exactly 8 days. But in the Air Force, difficult takes a day, if possible takes a week. So I've served in the United States Air Force for 24 years before retiring in 2019 out of Fort Detrick. That's where I met Nan and some others in this room. And since then, I've been committed to serving my fellow service members and making sure their transition out of service is supported, uplifted, and empowered. Now, that's why I wanted to come up here this evening and share with you how important this work is and how much it means to our veterans and their families. You see, back in 2011, I was in Kandahar, Afghanistan. I was dealing with rocky marriage and rocket attacks at the same damn time. And I tell you what, there was a rocket attack that landed about 50 yards away, and you hit the deck, and then you get up, and then you run out to the bunker. Well, in Afghanistan, the bunkers are above ground, not like what you see in the movies, where it's underground. No, these are above ground. But as I'm running to the bunker, I look over, I see the plume of smoke and dust, and I later found out that the rocket landed on my path to work in the morning. So because I'm an early bird, I was there by myself, and I prayed about everything. And then I said, okay, maybe I need to go get some military medical care, but I didn't trust it. The stigma associated with it, I was just afraid that if I go, then I would get kicked out or my top secret clearance would be taken away. So that's when I said to myself, you know what? I got to uplift my damn self. But with organizations like Serving Together, you don't have to go at it alone. So that's why it just comes full circle. Fast forward, 11 years, and here we are, me being a part of this great team. So I wanted to thank you for being a valued supporter, provider, and partner. But I also want to ask you to be nice. Be nice. Now that stands for nudge, invite, challenge, and encourage. As you know, if it's not an acronym, it doesn't exist in the military. Well, at least for the Army. So I'm just trying to help you all out, you know. But so I'm going to nudge you to continue partnering with us. Now I want to invite you, especially those of you who are new to Serving Together or have supported us way back in the day, to get involved with your local collaborative and my fellow teammates. Now, because I'm a former military, I want to challenge you to rise to meet the changing landscape of serving delivery, the service delivery to our community. And we need to work together to get ahead of the issues, build our capacity, and make sure that the resources are there for each veteran struggling today and every day. Finally, I'm going to encourage you. That's the E. And nice. Encourage you to sit down with us one-on-one and let's have a conversation about how we can strengthen our relationships through direct programming and funding. We have to end veteran suicide. Thank you. And now I'm going to hand off our closing to my friend and battle buddy, Olivia Nunn.
Thanks, Dr. X. In all seriousness, we do a lot of, give and take and push back. And, that's the loveliness about being in the force. We do give each other a lot of crap, but at the end of the day, we are one team in one fight. And, what I want to say is that what you've seen here this evening, what I want to underscore is the importance of the work that Serving Together has done over the past decade, and the importance and the impact that this organization has done on the life of an individual veteran, for a service member, and the extension of the family. And I want to bring it full circle. Why all of this tonight? Why are we presenting? Why are we talking? Why are we bringing this home? See, I'm a storyteller. I served as a public affairs officer, so I'm going to bridge this all together. Why your generosity matters. Why giving back truly matters. You see, this is a personal reason. Mental health and mental health resources in the military community truly matters. See, earlier I shared that I recently retired from the United States Army, and I served as a U.S. Army public affairs officer. My last job in the United States Army was with U.S. Army Soldier for Life, and I served as the public affairs officer. I was an expert on behalf of the United States Army in transitioning our service members out. I knew all the rules, I knew all the tips, I knew all the tricks. I was also the podcast host. I had a giant Rolodex of information of all the organizations that were out there on education, on jobs, health and wellness, and of course, mental health. I knew that you needed to know how to start preparing, and we preached 24 months out. I was on my way out 24 months out. I found myself at that 12-month mark, as directed, when I dropped my retirement paperwork, unexpectedly going through a divorce. All the trauma that I experienced in my 20 years came crashing down. I had been assaulted during my time. I'd been sexually harassed on numerous occasions. I was the first female to command an HHT brigade, an all-armored unit. All of that to say, everything that I'd worked for, everything that I'd known, I'd been a dual military couple with 2 children, that perfectionism came crashing down around me. And I found myself going down a very dark hole. I had planned to end my life. I did not know how to ask for help. I physically could not utter help. And see, I'm a public affairs officer. I have trained general officers how to be perfect on camera. I knew how to be perfect on camera, and I knew how to be on, and I hit it well. And I had a Rolodex of organizations to call. And when I finally broke down and asked for help, every single organization said, Olivia, I know you. I wish I could help, but I can't. Not because they didn't want to, but they couldn't. They were so tapped out, they could not help me. And this was their answer, every single one of them. Maybe 6 months, best case a year. I didn't know if I had 6 days left in me. See, I was a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army. The truth is, there's not very many lieutenant colonels in the Army. Majority of your structure in the military is at the E4, E5 level. As a lieutenant colonel, by the way, I have a pretty good size attitude. I'm 5'1", but my attitude is the size of a storm. I know no is not an answer. I know how to push back. But again, the size of our structure is not at lieutenant colonel who knows that no is not an answer. Those E4s, those E5s, they're gonna take that no, and that's why we have 22 a day. To me, that's absurd. That cannot be the answer. And here I am, 20 years in, for the first time figuring out that there was not enough resources. And I had 2 children. That can't be the answer. And so after I figured this out, and after I went through that storm, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm gonna live or not, and yes, I'm here today, so I somewhat kind of figured it out, right? That's why it's my mission. It's why it's where my passion is. We can't accept that as a community. We have to get more resources. And that's why us being here tonight as a community, we have to break the silence. We have to end the stigma. We as a community, civilians, military, we have to change the policies. We have to bring more resources. There's not enough. There's not enough for the service members. There's not enough resources for our spouses and for our children. Because we can't say, we're gonna help you 6 months, maybe in a year. That can't be it. So I plead to you tonight, your donations, your time, your effort, it matters. Because when someone calls and says, I need your help, when they finally break down and say, I need your help, that answer is, I got you. It can't be made in a year. Because it cannot be 22 in a day. We need to work together to drive that to 0. Because I guarantee you, all of us in here in this room have lost somebody. So I plead you and I beg with you, let's work together to drive that town. So I thank each and every one of you for coming out today. There's a million places that you could have been because the busy word, that's the word, right? You live here in DC, that's the word we always say is busy. You could have been somewhere else tonight. Thank you for sharing your time with us. For those that came in online, thank you for spending your evening with us, for celebrating the great work that Serving Together has done for the past decade. I hope that in another 10 years, we're seeing so much more and all the more impact and all the more growth. And again, you can make a difference. And I truly hope you've enjoyed your evening. Thank you.